Hi everyone, it's Sarah Todd. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. In today's video, we're going to be chatting about the most inaccessible ADA hotel room that I have ever stayed in my life, what the issues with the room were, and how I handled it, because I had a juicy email exchange with the hotel. So let's get right on into it. For those who don't know, ADA stands for the Americans with Disabilities Act. So the ADA is a law that was enacted in 1990 in the United States of America, and it grants disabled individuals certain legal protections. So hotels generally have ADA rooms that you can book if you are disabled and believe that a more accessible room would benefit you. Now, obviously, it's impossible to create one hotel room that can work for literally every person on the planet, and access needs often conflict. So not every disabled person would benefit from the same accessibility feature, but there are certain standards that are set by the ADA for ADA hotel rooms. So they're supposed to have certain features like a toilet that might be at a certain height. They're usually a little bit higher up. Door latches that are not above a certain height. They're supposed to be easier to reach. So for example, if you're a wheelchair user, an ADA room can often be very beneficial for you. There are other types of ADA rooms, like there are ADA rooms for people who are hard of hearing or deaf. There are rooms for people who are blind or low vision. So the accessibility features that come with that room depend on the type of room, but obviously every hotel is going to be different because every hotel has their own design and aesthetic. So I was in New York City for work recently. The company booked the hotel for me, so I did not choose the hotel. I did request an ADA room because I have a physical disability that impacts my ability to move my arms and hands. So while I can walk, some ADA room features are more accessible for me because things are generally lower, so it's easier for me to reach those things. And I was with a friend who is a wheelchair user, so she would benefit from the ADA room. So we had the company book an ADA room for us, and we stayed at the hotel for 5 nights. And upon entering the room, we immediately noticed how inaccessible it was. There were so many inaccessible features that I was like, all right, I need to make a video showing these features because this is absolutely absurd. So I created a TikTok, let's watch it together. This is the most inaccessible hotel room I've ever stayed in my life. Let's talk about it. This is an ADA room, so things should be easy to reach, but I cannot reach this latch. I'm 5 feet tall and I normally have no issue reaching latches in a hotel room. The only way I can reach it is if I like throw my arm up and kind of nudge it, but I shouldn't have to do that. So there's hardwood floors, but there's a rug. So if you're a wheelchair user, it would be super difficult to navigate this room with a rug. The toilet does not seem high enough to qualify as an ADA toilet, and it is also a very weird shape, so it is pretty uncomfy to sit on. I do like this button flush for my access needs because it's easy for me to use, but if you're a wheelchair user, it could be difficult because you can only move so far forward, so it may be hard to reach. The faucet knobs in the bathroom sink are very oddly shaped, so they are very difficult to turn. I'm able to do it, but a lot of people with limited dexterity would not be able to turn these. What do I even say about this? The shower is the worst part of this room. It is so inaccessible. I could not even turn it on. I had to call and have a staff member turn it on for me. And then when I was done showering, I had to call and have him come up and turn it off for me. This is so difficult to turn. It's ridiculous. There's plenty of room to roll into the shower and then be in the shower, but there is no shower chair. The staff at this hotel are incredible though. This is how complicated the shower was. A staff member literally had to write us notes so that we could figure out if we could do it or not, and we couldn't. But he was very nice to write notes for us. For the lights, it is really easy to push these buttons, but then to adjust the brightness, you have to twist, which is very difficult for people with limited dexterity. The blinds are also horrid. I literally injured my pinky trying to open the blinds this morning. It got some of my skin off. You have to grab this and yank it to adjust the blinds, and it really hurts and it takes forever. Because this is an ADA room and it has been particularly inaccessible, I will be giving my polite, constructive feedback to the hotel. The staff has been so incredibly kind though, so we have still had a great stay here. There are just definitely things that they could improve on. So yeah, so many inaccessible features of this room. I thought it was so funny when I posted this video. It got millions of views across all my platforms together. So many people were commenting on how big the entrance door is, and they were like, when I first saw you, I thought you were only like 3 feet tall. And then I mentioned in the video that I'm 5 feet tall, and they were like, that door is huge for no reason. And some people were saying it's like Alice in Wonderland, which I thought was so funny. But yeah, the door was so unnecessarily big. I didn't even mention in the video, but it was also super heavy. I didn't mention that because I'm super used to hotel room doors being heavy, that all the other issues with the room seemed more pertinent, but it was super, super heavy. I don't know how most disabled people would open that door. I could barely do it to get my friend and I in and out of the room. So yeah, that was an issue as well. But yeah, the door was super heavy. The latch was so high up, and I never even have trouble reaching latches in non-ADA rooms. So I was shocked that it was super high in an ADA room. The rug definitely can be an issue for people with mobility aids. It's not an issue for everybody, but my friend had trouble getting over the rug in her wheelchair. The toilet was the weirdest shape ever. So many of the comments were like, is that toilet made for SpongeBob? And I thought that was so funny. Just like, why was it that shape? And then, like I said, I liked the toilet flusher buttons for myself, but for a lot of other disabled people, they could definitely be inaccessible. The faucet handles are just very old-fashioned, and they were totally prioritizing aesthetics over accessibility there for sure. And honestly, throughout the entire room, they were thinking about aesthetics and not accessibility. The weird like towel rack in the bathroom was so unusual. I'd never seen something like that before. It wasn't like blanket inaccessible, that's why I didn't focus on it too much, but what made it inaccessible for me was when I would put stuff on it, it would slide off because it wasn't attached to the wall on both sides. So then my stuff would just fall on the floor. The shower was the worst. So we actually literally were facing a case of, and this happens to me all the time, is this inaccessible to me, or do I just not know how to use this? That happens to me a lot with like door locks and things. I'm like, am I doing this wrong, or can I just not do it? But it turns out it was both. We could not figure the shower out, and the employee who helped us figure it out was actually super confused by it for the longest time. He was in our room for like half an hour trying to figure out how it worked. So it was confusing in general, but it was also inaccessible because once we knew how it worked, we could not turn it on and off. So to shower, we had to call and have a staff member turn it on for us, and then when finished with the shower, had to call and have the staff member turn the shower off for us. I'm gonna insert photos of the instructions that he wrote for the shower because I think it is so funny that he did all of that for us. He was literally the best. Shout out to this employee. I loved the effort that he put in writing these notes for us. The blinds were also such a huge barrier in the room. Blinds like that are just like the worst. And I got that little pinky injury, which obviously wasn't a big deal, but you should not get injured when you are trying to open and close blinds. So yeah, tons of inaccessible features of this room. I received tons of great responses to this video, but there were a good amount of people in the video telling me that I should name and shame the hotel. And I do not do that. I do not agree with naming and shaming. For me personally, that is not something that I like to do. Let's talk about why. Firstly, people are generally more receptive to constructive feedback when it is given in a kind and professional manner. If I were to just go on social media and be like, this hotel is horrible, never go there, they're awful, blah, 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 I would be ignoring all of the positive experiences that I had at the hotel. Like, the staff were incredible. They were so helpful. There were accessible door buttons on the hotel lobby doors, so that was a positive feature. I really enjoyed dining at their restaurant, and the servers we had were so kind and amazing. So I think naming and shaming acts as if the entire experience was negative, and that was not mine and my friend's experience. We had a lovely stay at the hotel. in spite of all of the accessibility issues we encountered in the room. And if any of the kind employees or management of the hotel saw me going online and being like, don't stay at this hotel, they're horrible, they wouldn't want to help me. I think that would really push them away and turn them away, and it would just not be productive. And yeah, of course, the hotel should not necessarily have to be told that all of these features are inaccessible, because that is not the disabled guest's job to be accessibility consultants. Calling them out by name on social media is just not productive. It's not going to lead to a conversation that creates actual change, because like I said, they're just going to be pushed away, turned away. They're not going to want to talk to me. I think that successful advocacy results from calling people in, inviting them in, and not calling them out, not pushing them away. Rather than naming and shaming, I believe the first step should be to reach out to the company via email or phone and have a one-on-one private conversation with them, because that way you're starting the conversation on a positive note and you're not assuming bad intention. If you try emailing with the company, if you try having phone calls with the company and those conversations don't go well, or if they say something very offensive or very gross or discriminatory, then yeah, maybe naming and shaming could be the next route to take, but it is an absolute last resort. Naming and shaming is pretty much the worst thing that you can do to a company other than sue them. So if you immediately jump to that worst thing that you can do, then you have no other options and no other routes to take other than suing them, because you've already burned that bridge. You have immediately formed a negative relationship with them, so it's most likely not really going to go well. I always prefer to give a company the chance to make things right before just immediately deciding to go in and attack them, because that's super unfair and not productive, like I've said. And the sad, unfortunate reality is that there are likely millions of hotels in the United States with inaccessible ADA rooms. So just choosing one of these hotels is so unkind and not fair, and really minimizes this issue. It kind of makes it seem like it's a one-off issue when it is not. This is a very common issue. There was one individual who commented on the video I made about the hotel, and they were very upset that I do not name and shame. They told me that I am very young and have no idea how successful advocacy works. I have been advocating for myself and for others for years now, and I have been very successful doing this. This is also a big part of my job. Like, my career is centered around disability advocacy. So I do know what I'm doing, and I have another case of successful advocacy here with this inaccessible hotel room. So let's talk about the email exchange I had with them. I wrote to the hotel. I titled the email "Inaccessibility of ADA Room" at hotel name. I wrote, "Hi there, I hope you are doing well. My name is Sarah Todd Hammer. I go by Sarah Todd as a double name. Hammer is my last name. I always think it's important to clarify my name because my name is very unusual. It's confusing. And if I'm going to be interacting with somebody in a long-term email exchange, or perhaps even talking to them on the phone, I think it's important that they know my name, because everybody deserves the basic bare minimum respect of being addressed by their name." I stayed at hotel from May 1st to 6th, 2026. Overall, I had a lovely stay. The hotel staff were incredibly kind, friendly, and helpful. Every request my friend and I had was honored, and service was provided promptly. However, I would like to provide feedback on the ADA, Americans with Disabilities Act, accessible room that my friend and I occupied the entirety of our stay, as we noticed quite a number of inaccessible features. Both my friend and I have physical disabilities, which is why we requested the ADA room. My friend is a wheelchair user, and we both have limited mobility in our arms and hands. Please find a list of the inaccessible features we noted below. 1. The door to enter and exit the hotel room is incredibly heavy and is incredibly difficult to open. 2. The security latch on the main door is mounted well over 48 inches above the floor. According to ADA standards, the security latch or bolt on the hall door must not be mounted no higher than 48 inches above the floor, so it is within the reach of persons who use wheelchairs and is operable with one hand without tight grasping, pinching, or twisting of the wrist. 3. There is a rug on the floor in the center of the room, which makes navigating the space difficult or impossible for those using mobility aids. 4. The toilet seems quite low to the ground. I am not sure it meets ADA standards for height. ADA standard, the toilet seat in each accessible toilet room must be between 17 and 19 inches above the floor. 5. The faucet is difficult to operate as it is controlled via twist knobs. According to ADA standards, quote, the lavatory in each accessible guest room bathroom must have a faucet that is easily operable, i.e. levers, wrist blades, single arm, etc., and usable with one hand without tight grasping, pinching, or twisting of the wrist. 6, the shower controls are impossible for me to turn on and off. I had to call for a staff member to turn the shower on and turn it off when I was done. According to ADA standards, quote, the faucet controls and shower diverter must be turned on and off easily and be operable and usable with one hand without tight grasping, pinching, or twisting of the wrist, i.e. levers, single arm, etc. 7, there is no shower chair or bench in the shower. 8, the light switches are easy to push to turn on and off, but it is difficult to twist the knobs to adjust the brightness. 9, the blind pulleys were incredibly difficult to operate and even caused a small injury to my hand when attempting to open the shades. According to ADA standards, quote, the drapery wands must be easily operable with one hand without tight grasping, pinching, or twisting of the wrist, since many persons with disabilities may not have high manual dexterity or use of both hands. I also created and shared a video on social media highlighting these issues. You can watch on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook. Additionally, the elevator doors closed quite quickly, making it difficult for my friend who uses a wheelchair to enter and exit the elevator safely. Increasing the time the elevator doors stay open would greatly improve accessibility for all. www.ada.gov is a very helpful website that would likely be useful as hotel works to improve accessibility of their space. An accessibility highlight my friend and I noticed was the accessible door button to enter and exit the hotel lobby. Thank you for including that important accessibility feature. It would be lovely for the ADA rooms to reflect the same sense of accessibility and inclusivity as the hotel's main entrance doors. My friend and I love the staff and the atmosphere, especially dining at the hotel restaurant, and would love to return, but sadly the inaccessibility of the ADA room causes us to hesitate to return. I hope that my feedback will be shared with the appropriate team or teams and taken seriously. I would appreciate any updates you could provide on how the hotel is taking our feedback seriously. Thank you so much for your time. Sincerely, Sarah Todd Hammer. So a few things to note. I think it's really important to acknowledge the things that they did well to make them more receptive to my constructive feedback. And there were a few things that they did well. So I wanted to highlight those and ensure that I praised the staff because they were amazing. I also always like to end the email assuming that they are going to take my feedback. So I never want to say, I hope that you will take my feedback seriously. I like to say something like, I look forward to learning how the hotel is taking my feedback seriously. Please let me know how the hotel is taking my feedback seriously. And I did that as well when I sent over the ada.gov website as a resource and said, this will be a helpful resource as the hotel works to implement my feedback. I always assume they're going to implement my feedback. I never frame it as a question because that makes it seem like it's optional. So that's why I chose to write this email in this way. So I sent this email on May 13th and I literally got a response from them the next day. They wrote, hello Sarah Todd, thank you so much for taking the time to share your thoughtful feedback. We truly appreciate your kind acknowledgement of our team, and I'd like to sincerely apologize for the accessibility challenges you and your friend experienced in our ADA room. I'm very sorry for the inconveniences caused during your stay. Your message has been shared with our senior leadership, and a member of our team will be reaching out to you early next week to connect and provide a more detailed follow-up. Thank you again for bringing this to our attention. Your feedback is incredibly valuable to us. We appreciate your patience as we follow up. So I responded right away and thanked them, gave them my phone number in case they wanted to chat via phone. And I didn't hear back from them that next week. So I did check in and they didn't respond to that for a few days. So I checked in again and then they finally responded again on May 28th. So on May 28th, they wrote, hi Sarah Todd, thank you again for taking the time to share such detailed feedback with us. We sincerely regret that aspects of your room did not meet the level of comfort, ease, and inclusivity we strive to provide, particularly given that you specifically reserved an ADA room. While our rooms are designed and operated in accordance with ADA accessibility standards, that I'm not positive about. There are a lot of loopholes in the ADA, so that may be true, but not positive about that one. We also recognize that individual guest experiences and accessibility needs can vary. Your feedback has been extremely valuable in helping us identify areas where we can further improve usability and overall comfort beyond baseline requirements. We have reviewed each item you flagged with our operations and engineering teams, and I wanted to share the steps we are taking. Room door latch. We are adding lower security latches in our accessible rooms at no higher than 48 inches for easier reach. Room door weight. Our entry doors are serviced regularly with the most recent service completed on May 12, 2026. We are continuing to review ease of use. Rugs and carpets. We have started repositioning or removing rugs where needed to improve maneuverability. Toilet height, we measured the toilet height and are continuing to review the room against current accessibility standards and operational best practices. Sink faucet, we are sourcing alternative lever style options. Shower controls, we are also sourcing alternate lever and mixer options as this requires a more involved hardware change. Shower seating, shower seats are available upon request, though we understand your point and are reviewing how this can be communicated and supported more clearly. Light switches and dimmers, we have tested an added lever solution to make the dimmers easier to operate and are moving forward with this for all ADA rooms. Blinds, we have ordered a potential automated blind solution for testing. If successful, we plan to implement this across our ADA rooms. Elevator doors, we are reviewing the elevator timing with our team to better understand what adjustments can be made safely and appropriately. Our team regularly reviews accessibility guidance and standards as part of our ongoing efforts to improve the guest experience. And as you can see, your feedback has already prompted immediate action across several areas. I also want to thank you for your kind words about our staff, service, lobby, accessibility, and the hotel restaurant. We are glad there are parts of the stay you enjoyed, and we are sorry the room itself did not reflect the same level of accessibility. We genuinely appreciate you taking the time to share this feedback with us and helping us identify areas where we can improve. Please reach out at any time with questions. So overall, my first reaction was slay. I was so impressed. I thought this was incredible given my first email was May 13th and they responded with all of this May 28th. That's only about 2 weeks and they had already started making all of these changes. I was so impressed. I think overall this is an amazing response. I responded and thanked them and told them I was very impressed and that I look forward to returning in a few months to perhaps see the changes. So I think it would be really cool for me to do that, to try to go back in a few months, give them some time to implement these changes and then see what the updated ADA rooms are like. I know that a couple of those bullet responses were a little bit vague, so I'm not so sure what they're doing about the toilet height and the heavy door, but I think it's amazing. Like, they've already ordered an automated blind solution. They're changing the sink faucets to be levers. They're changing the dimmers to have the lever style option. They're removing or repositioning rugs. Incredible. I was so pleased with how this exchange went, and I think this really shows that if you don't name and shame and if you have a professional, kind, productive conversation, you can make changes. So I honestly think this is a really cool story, and I'm very proud of the change that I was able to help make happen, and I'm very proud of the hotel for choosing to make these changes. Yeah, effective advocacy takes time, energy, and practice, and it can be exhausting, but it can also lead you to develop new skills, such as writing, interpersonal communication, and personal confidence. And I personally believe that being an advocate is a huge part of my purpose in life. So I hope you all enjoyed this little story. I loved telling it. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel. I post new long form videos every Monday at 3 p.m. Eastern, 12 p.m. Pacific time. Thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you all at the next video. Bye everyone.